Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. Today, as always, I'll be doing a YouTube deck tech from the comment section for you guys. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you or help you tweak a list you're trying to work on, I'm looking for any of the 5 metrics in the comment section. A bracket, a budget, a theme, a commander, and any pet cards you might have. I'll also leave a link to my Discord down below. It's a great place to drop a deck list off and have me work on. Today, we have a request from the user Jaskir saying bracket 3, around 500. Theme is animating rooms and enchantments to make them into creatures using Marina Vendrell. That is exactly what we did. Marina Vendrell is 5 colors, 3/5. When she enters, reveal the top 7 cards of your library. Put all enchantments from among them into your hand and the rest on the bottom in a random order. And then you can tap Marina to lock or unlock a door of a room you control, activate as a sorcery. So, it's a good stuff Enchantress deck. You can see here from the creature package, you have your traditional card draw Enchantress pieces, things like Argothian, Eidolon, Entity Tracker, Mesa Enchantress, Satyr Enchanter, Setessan Champion, Sithis, Verdurin. All of these are pretty obvious. You have a few tech pieces, Doomwake Giant to do a little bit of a board wipe, Dryad of the Elysian Grove for mana, Enduring Vitality for mana, Sanctum Weather, same thing, mana, and then you have your 2 Zurs. Zur the Enchanter is good in any enchantment deck just because it's continual progression. You can always go get an enchantment from your deck, even if it's not the best thing you could be doing in that particular moment. Just getting enchantments out for free is awesome. And then Zur the Internal Schemer and Bellow are 2 of our main win cons. So we want to actually end the game via combat damage with our enchantments, waking our enchantments up, turning them into creatures, and turning them sideways to deal damage. So things like Bellow and Zur are going to allow you to do that. Notably, most enchantments decks are engine decks that are masking a control deck. What I would say about this is you need to wait until the mid to late game to actually turn your enchantments into creatures to start trying to end the game. You don't want to do that early because you can make your enchantments very vulnerable. Plus, you're playing multiple board wipes, and the last thing you want to do is turn your enchantments into creatures and then have to board wipe. So, this is more of a play your Eternal Schemer or play your Bellow in the mid to late game when you already have control of the board and you're ready to actually finish the game off. Sakura Tribuilder, the beginning of our ramp package. Inquisitive Glimmer, we're not playing all the enchantment reducers. We're just playing this one because it is an enchantment reducer and also reduces the unlock costs of rooms. But overall, this is not a deck that's playing 3 enchantments a turn. That needs to reduce all of them. Reducing 1 is cool. That's really all we need. As far as the ramp, Sakura Tribuilder, Cultivate, Farseek, Kodama's Reach, Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth, Shared Roots, 3 Visits, Soul Rain, Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, 11 up, 11 down, staying consistent. This is the package I go with pretty much any base green deck, and it's what I would recommend. Control elements, you have Board Wipes, Austere Command, Blasphemous Act, Blasphemous Edict, Extinguish All Hope, and Supreme Verdict. You're trying again to just buy yourself time. You're not playing a lot of creatures, so don't be afraid to keep the board clear. You don't need to deploy Marina right away on turn 5. She can fill your hand up in the mid to late game after you've used all your cards. So in the early game, just feign a control deck, take your time, get your engine pieces out from under you, and then start to take control. Dance of the Mance is another way to turn our team into creatures and bring them all back to actually win the game. Teferi's Protection, Dawn's Truce, Heroic Intervention, all ways to protect our board. Teferi's Protection is our first game changer for bracket 3. Enlightened Tutor is our second, and then Smothering Tithe is our third. Enlightened Tutor is not a card I would play at a casual table. I don't like playing random tutor effects in casual, but I think if you're using Enlightened Tutor for the purpose of getting like a Starfield of Nyx or an Opalescence, strictly something that turns your enchantments into creatures and is a non-traditional way of winning the game with this deck or with an enchantment deck, I think that's totally fine. Just don't abuse it and just go get your best enchantment every single time. Stay committed to when this is in my hand, I'm going to go get my Starfield of Nyx because that is how I want to win the game. Swords to Plowshares for a little bit of removal. We have 10 total room enchantments. I'm not going to go over every single one. There I looked through the entire list and this is the ones that I ended up on. These ones are not necessarily good for this specific deck. They're either good for this deck or they're just really powerful on their own. I think there's like 35 rooms to choose from, enchantment rooms. Like I said, there's a ton of them, but a lot of them are junk. These are the ones I would consider the best. I would only play the best ones. You don't want to play way too many room enchantments where you have like 20 in here and half of them are almost borderline unplayable. They're just in here because of Marina. You want to make sure you're still packing your deck with good cards. So you can look at all of the enchantments in the list. Things like Sterling Grove, pretty obvious, protect your stuff. You have the Sphere of Safety package with Propaganda and Ghostly Prison. Greater Oromancy to protect your stuff. You have some removal, Grasp of Fate, Darksteel Mutation, Imprisoned in the Moon, Kenris Transformation. A lot of those removal pieces I consider to be better than single target removal because one, you can tutor them. Two, they probably will draw a card when they come into play. And three, Darksteel mutationing someone else's commander just shuts it down long term rather than board wiping and allowing them to cast it again. Enchantress Presence for more card draw, and then you do have your Opalescence and Starfield and Nyx, which again do not deploy until the mid to late game when you're ready to take control. Leyline of the Guild Pact is just a fun one to have in here that makes everything easier on the mana, and then Smothering Tithe is your third and final piece of game change. Lands, I did not give you anything. You already said here that you have some shocklands and triumphs. What I would say is pack your land base with all of the dual lands that you have, all of the triumphs, all of the shocklands, all of the any land that produces more than one color and does not come into play tapped is going to be good here. So fetch lands, shock lands, triumphs produce more than two colors, so it's okay if they come into play untapped. I only included a couple of the lands that I think are pretty obvious. Cascading Cataracts, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Hall of Heliod's Generosity, Reliquary Tower, the World Tree, and Valgavas Lair. Everything else, do the best with what you have. I would recommend, if you're going extremely budget, have like 3 of each basic. If you have a good land base that's already in your trade binder or just waiting to be used, and it's got, the full suite of shock lands and fetch lands and all that stuff, then I would say like probably 1 or 2 of each basic is going to be a good place to be. But that should keep you under your budget, and this should be exactly up your alley in how you want to win the game. Plus, it still has the backup plan of just doing the good Enchantress thing of having an engine and just steaming ahead. So I think you're going to end up having a pretty good time. Let me know when you put it together and how it plays out. And as always, Godspeed.